Human Sleep, written by Peggy UK. It was by every definition of the word a mess, but the Galactic Union worked. It wasn't a well-oiled diplomatic machine as some of the more younger and naive races had hoped, but more so an organization that relied too heavily on bureaucratic nonsense. It covered incalculable species from across the stars, all coexisting with each other, trading and occasionally having petty disputes over resources and technology. But on the whole, it worked. And then there were the humans. Venoss, most of the older, more senior ambassadors could not remember when humanity joined the Galactic Union, or how or even why the records were inexplicably missing, and those entries that were there were either incomplete or nonsensical. Their currently assigned ambassador, a human by the name of Jenkins, rarely attended council meetings, and when he did, it was usually so that he could have a quick nap. This example of humanity did little to improve the galaxy's perception of the humans, who were seen as a bit slow and altogether lazy, mostly harmless, and best left to their own devices. The peaceful day-to-day drudgery of diplomatic life was suddenly shattered when the Xylos, a young race of crystalline beings known for their body art and vibration music, was struck by a devastating plague. Their ambassador, Lumina, stood before the council, shimmering in the chamber's light, her composure betraying the despair she must have been feeling. She begged and pleaded for her people's plight. She offered anything and everything for help combating the plague. For the other races, using diplomatic language like an economic instability and quarantine protocols to avoid assisting, instead offering meaningless platitudes, and in one case sympathetic clicks, the Xylos were left to die. She sobbed openly. And at that point, Lumina noticed that the council chamber was gone completely silent, and that the eyes of all the ambassadors had been drawn to something shuffling down the stairs towards the speaking platform. After allowing her eyes to adjust, she could make out the form of Ambassador Jenkins. The human, as he paused on the stairs to stretch, yawned, and adjust his tie. As he finally reached the main floor, loud gasps were heard from the assembled diplomats, as the proud members of the four oldest races in the council all stood as one and bowed deeply in reverence. The stoic Cathar, the ancient Aldrin, the wise Xyle, and the enigmatic Phaetons, all considered noble and proud, had never ever been seen to bow to anyone. Yet here they showed such deep respect, it brought many to tears. Jenkins, seemingly oblivious to the show of respect, simply carried on ambling towards the speaking platform, and approached Lumina with a warm smile on his lips. He cleared his throat and held out his hand. "Plaguer, nasty business. Give me what data you have, please." Lumina handed over the data tablet without question. The words from Jenkins weren't a command or said in any sense of the word authoritarian voice, yet every fiber of her being screamed at her to obey. Jenkins swiped through the data, letting out the occasional tut. When he had finally finished, he looked up at Lumina and smiled. "Be back in a jiffy." And with that, he clicked his fingers and disappeared, which caused even more louder gasps. Even the four elder races seemed taken aback. The room seemed to stand still after Jenkins' surprising departure. The events of the chamber had stupefied everyone, and when after a few minutes the silence was replaced with murmurs of disbelief from the ambassadors who seemed to be coming back to their senses, then there was a sound like a dull whoosh, and Jenkins was back in the same spot he had previously occupied, with another data tablet in his hands and a friendly smile. "Here you go. Should sort out that little plague for you," he said before turning around and began shuffling back to his seat. Lumina looked at the data and couldn't believe her eyes. The humans had handed her the cure for the plague. The council was adjourned in complete shock. The Xylos scientists quickly confirmed its potency, proclaiming it as a miracle. They were in awe of its elegance and how astonishingly effective it was. Mass production began immediately, saving billions of lives. The council officially thanked the humans for the cure, and for the most part life returned to normal. But the Groll, a brutish expansionist race, had engineered the plague to wipe out the Xylos so that they could seize control of their resource-rich territory. And now, enraged by the humans' intervention, the Groll ambassador took the stage and declared war on the Xylos, claiming them weak and their demise inevitable. The council debated and votes taken, but due to the financial cost of defending the Xylos and the potential war with the Groll, the Xylos were left to their fate. A vast Groll fleet dispatched, bristling with weapons, arriving in the Xylos home system, preparing to wipe out the Xylos once and for all. But as they plunged deeper in the Xylos system, a ship emerged from out of nowhere. A single, sleek, unassuming human vessel shimmered into existence, directly blocking their approach. It was dark and utterly devoid of visible weaponry, but gave off a presence that unnerved the crews of the Groll fleet. A single transmission from the human ship was received by the Groll commander. A calm voice boomed across the Groll comms channel. "This is the Locks and Glens Transport Retiree Express. You are ordered to withdraw from Xylos space immediately." The Groll commander scoffed. "A single human ship. You dare defy the might of the Groll Empire!" And with that, he waved his claw at his comms officer. "All ships fire at will. Let them learn that crossing the Groll Empire has consequences." With that, the Groll fleet opened fire on a single human ship. Lasers cut through the void, and plasma and kinetic projectiles slammed into the human vessel. The Groll commander stood, incredulous, on the bridge, staring at the view screen. Where there should have been a rapidly cooling cloud of debris was the human ship, untouched and seemingly rather more menacing than before. The human suddenly appeared on the view screen, wearing a rather loud Hawaiian shirt and sipping something out of what resembled a coconut. He looked at the Groll commander directly in the eye, tutted, and snapped his fingers. "Next time, listen to your elders." With that, every Groll sailor, marine, and soldier on the fleet found themselves standing on the Groll homeworld in a state of shock, as the Groll fleet commander tried desperately to stop its fleet, which only moments earlier had been in the Xylos system, was now unmanned and in a direct course towards the Groll sun. They watched helplessly as their entire fleet ceased to exist. Several weeks later, Lumina stood in the council chamber. She was still in shock. The disasters her people had faced caused her immense sorrow, but the unlikely salvation of her race from these events by a race she hardly knew anything about spurred her on to find out more. So she did the unthinkable. She approached the ancient Aldrin and Xyl ambassadors, who regarded her with a quizzical wisdom. "Child," the Aldrin ambassador began, his voice gentle, but with a resonance that echoed around the chamber. "The humans are the first, the oldest of us all. They are powerful, beyond comprehension, and our most powerful of weapons are but toys to them. They tolerate our flaws and guide us when necessary, but when needed, they teach us as a parent would when guiding its children." The Xyl ambassador added, a faint tremor in their usually steady voice. "They have seen races rise and fall. They have witnessed stars being born and fade into nothing. They are our guardians and will pick us up when we stumble. Although they do prefer to nap through most of it, they are always ready. When they finally stir, well, you've seen what happens." Lumina looked towards the empty seat of Ambassador Jenkins. A newfound respect and a healthy dose of fear overcame her. Humanity, she realized, may be lazy, slow, and prone to snoring so loudly they cause the holographic display to vibrate, but they are capable of erasing entire fleets with a snap of their fingers. With power like that, perhaps it was best that they mostly slept. End of story. Story number 2, Answer the Call, written by Paggy UK. The Chishari Starwind was never meant for combat. It was a top-of-the-line science vessel designed for unlocking the secrets of the galaxy. Its elegant crystal core hull shimmered from the light of this distant Sonari sun. They had for the past 3 weeks explored the Sonari expanse. Captain Valor and his crew of scholars, researchers, and their families had catalogued the subspace anomalies of the region without incident. They were just 2 days from concluding their mission when fate turned against them. "Captain," came the urgent voice of Lieutenant Rely from the sensor station. "We have 4 ships exiting FTL bearing 940. No Concord transporter signals. They're closing in fast." Baylor's dorsal ears twitched sharply. Show me. The holographic display lit up. The 4 ships all angular, jagged, and predatory. He recognized them straight away. Shroll Confederacy heavy raiders. The design was unmistakable. No time to flee, Relay whispered, her voice etched with fear. Baylor didn't argue. Comms! Broadcast a distress pulse immediately. Emergency Class 9. Broadcast in all languages, he ordered, his eyes never leaving the display. The crew obeyed, and within seconds a burst of data erupted into deep space. It contained coordinates, signal priority, and the ancient plea every sapient species understands. Help us. The pirates didn't answer. They didn't have to. The first barrage hit the Starwind's outer shield matrix. It buckled under the onslaught, but held barely. Plasma energy traced golden arcs around the shield bubble. The sheer immense dissipated energy, causing a power feedback which ruptured a cargo hold containment force field and caused several systems to overload. Sparks showered the bridge. Alarms held. We are unarmed, Bella yelled into his comms. We are a peaceful vessel on a scientific mission. We carry civilians and children. Break off your attack. Another impact tossed him from his command chair. Relay clutched a console. No response. They're blocking all communications. Keep sending the distress signal, Bella ordered. Someone will hear it. And somewhere in the deep dark, they did. A Terran corvette, the TNV Dependable, was skirting the edge of the Epsilon Drift corridor. It was barely a week into its assigned patrol route. It received the distress signal. It wasn't the only one in range, but it was the closest and the only ship fast enough to make it there in time. Inside her command deck, Commander Alana Rock heard the distress call, then stood. Jump us to those coordinates immediately, she ordered. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Avery, blinked. Commander, protocol says that we need Concord confirmation first. I didn't ask what the book said, Rock snapped, cutting him off like a blade through silence. Spin up the FTL, we are the Terran Navy, and when someone cries out in the dark, we answer, because that's who we are. There was a chorus of aye from the assembled crew as they dutifully got to work, all focused on the job at hand. Within a minute, the Dependable had torn a hole in space and emerged mere minutes later in the Sonari system. It emerged directly between the Starwind and the enemy ships, its shields charged and weapons ready. The comms lit up with a crackled, distorted voice. Unidentified vessel, this is Starwind. We beg you, we carry no weapons. We have children on board. Rock cut in. Starwind, this is Commander Elena Rock, the Dependable. We have you on visual. We're engaging. Get your engines online and get out of here. We'll keep them off of you as long as we can. The pirates had noticed the new player instantly, and one of them had veered off to intercept, hungry for an easy kill. But the Dependable was pulled to fight back. Its twin coil guns barked into the void, streaking blue traces at the enemy vessel. They struck with deadly accuracy, causing the raider to veer off, spilling vapor and fire from a lucky hit. The ship listed, venting air. The other 3 raiders, now realizing the threat, regrouped. Commander Jensen Yong said from his station at Tactical analysis complete. We're outgunned. Their ships are heavier and better armed. Rourke's voice was calm. And we are better trained. This isn't a brawl. It's a delay. We buy the Tashari time. Understood? Yong hesitated, then nodded. Understood. The battle raged across the stars, a dance of fire and motion. The Dependable danced amongst the raiders, flipping and rolling between enemy fire, whilst unloading its torpedoes and kinetic rounds with pinpoint accuracy. Every time the pirates tried to regroup and form some kind of formation, she disrupted them. Inside of the Starwind, the Tashari watched in silent awe. Baylor gripped the command chair at rest. They are few, and yet they charge like titans. They are protecting us, Relay said softly. They don't even know our names. Baylor touched the communications panel. Dependable, this is Baylor. I must speak with your commander. A few seconds passed before the comms flickered with static. Go ahead, Rourke's voice came over the comms, breathless but steady. You are outnumbered, Baylor stated. You have taken damage. One of your guns has gone dark. You've taken heavy damage. Fall back and survive. You have done all that you can. And We thank you for it." Rourke gave a bitter laugh. "Not an option, Captain. If we fall back, you'll be defenseless, and they'll turn on you. Your people won't make it out of here alive. No. We're holding." "Why?" Baylor's voice cracked. "You don't know us. You owe us nothing." Rourke was quiet for a heartbeat. "Because it is who we are, and it's because we really hate bullies." Then the line cut. A pirate ship launched a torpedo which struck the Dependable midsection, collapsing the Dependable's shields. Explosions ripped through her starboard hangar bay. Fires burned through several decks. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Silver screamed over the comms, "Container breach! The reactor is bleeding!" Rourke was already moving to the bridge's engineering station. "Can we vent it?" she questioned. "No, we've got a cascade on our hands, and the old girl is heating up. If it hits 1,400 Kelvin, came the reply. She didn't need to hear the rest. She got back in a command chair and slammed the comms button. "Paylor," she said. Voice now raw. "You're still breathing. We are alive because of you," came the reply over the comm static. "Good," Rourke exhaled slowly. "Keep it that way." "Help is coming, right?" 3 of our warships are inbound. 2 minutes out," Valor replied. "Then you'll make it," was all Valor could make out before the comms channel cut out again. The last image of Tashari saw of the Dependable was a wounded frame turning to face the 2 nearest pirate vessels. Her weapon still blazed away, even as her engine core reached critical mass. Then a brilliant flash, white, brilliant, final. The explosion vaporized the 2 pirate ships, and what remained of the Dependable scattered in a ring of debris and fire. Seconds later, the Cheshire reinforcements arrived. 3 heavy cruisers, their fangs bared. They saw the wreckage, the fire, and the 2 remaining pirate ships, and they unleashed fury. 1 pirate ship was atomized while the other fled before it could be cut down. There was a stunned silence on the Starwind as Valor and the rest of the crew stood, speechless, staring out of the viewport, tears streaming down his and many others' cheeks. 1 year later, in a quiet grove on the Cheshire homeworld, a monument now stands beneath a crystal blood tree. At its base, etched in both Terran Standard and Cheshire glyphs, are the names of 43 crew members of the Dependable. A crowd gathered to commemorate, Terrans in crisp black naval uniforms, and Cheshire in ceremonial garb. Captain Valor, now appointed his people's ambassador to Earth, stepped forward. "Once we believed the stars were cold, beautiful, vast, but indifferent," he said, but struggled to contain his emotions. "We thought that we were alone in cold compassion, alone in our science, and alone in our fear." He looked to the sky. "And then, when we cried out, and in that moment, humanity answered," he continued. No applause followed, only silence, and the soft rise of the Cheshire song, sung for the fallen, for the brave crew of the Dependable. In the years that followed, the Terrans and Cheshire continued to work together, and they created a joint defense fleet, with the first class of Terran Cheshire corvettes being named the Dependable class, and beneath every airlock of those ships, etched in the metal of memory, were 5 simple words. No call ever goes unanswered. End of story. I would like to thank our T5 members and patrons, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Vidmori, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.